addressing issues men face but rarely talk about. Tonight, we have Matthew Lowe joining us, a guy we met when I started venturing out on this whole topic between emotional intelligence and relationships and how they all affect each other. So I'm really excited to bring Matthew on the show to have a pretty awesome conversation. But before we get started, Matthew, how are you
Mhm.
really?
Um, Generally good, I would say. I'm in a weird spot right now because in the last several weeks I've started doing a lot of writing after a year of kind of just like taking a break after the book was published. And sort of the good and bad news for me in writing is that it's very exciting. I've got like type 2 bipolar. So for me, like excitement can mean like, oh, I'm not sleeping as much. I'm a little like edgy. But I'm also having a lot of fun. So I have to like find the right way to kind of like enjoy myself without sort of going too hard. So I'm finding that balance, and it's super fun to be writing again. So yeah. Uh,
Awesome.
Robbie, how are you really?
I am doing good. It's a new year. Happy New Year, everyone. A little time off that we took. We're back. I've set some pretty big goals for myself this year. So far, this first week has been going well. Um, the up is up. So we'll see when it comes down a little bit. But so far, I'm doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Steve, how are you really?
Oh, first I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. That's I hope everyone had a good and safe and happy holiday. As for me here, how am I really? I am doing actually really, really good. I've been in a phenomenal mood for a good chunk of the week. I did a 72-hour water fast Monday through Wednesday, and I swear it has been a part of my elevated mood. I'm also maintaining the ketosis that came along with doing the water fast. Just because I have an elevated mood, I've been in like a pretty damn fabulous mood since Thursday. Putting a little bit of food back in my system, and I got outside today, got a bunch of sun, and really needed that. But really, I'm in a great mood. I'm in a great spot. Robbie, you talked about having some pretty lofty goals. I don't normally I haven't set any goals for New Year's when it comes around. What I do is set an intention. So I pick a word for the year. It's another popular thing people do. And then I write a reflection about what that word means to me and how I'm going to apply it to the year ahead. And so my word for this year is elevate. So um,
You're on theme.
yeah, I have lofty expectations of myself. I hold myself to a pretty high standard, and that's not going to go away. So, but a phenomenal mood, great mood, and I'm really happy to bring Matthew along on here. So, Matthew, you are the author of "Seeing the Forest for the Trees," which is
Seeing the
uh,
forest and I'm
seeing.
gonna flash
Oh,
the post.
there you go. Do that.
Yeah.
Seeing the forest and the trees. Correct. I wrote it down wrong.
You're
Anyways,
good.
I'm glad you brought the book there along with you. When we sent you the message to, you know, us to meet each other, bring you on here, you sent me just the what was it? The
The table of
table of
contents, I think.
contents. Yeah, and so I'm gonna rope in the first chapter of this
Cool.
to the first question we're gonna have to talk about, because we're going to talk about this emotional intelligence, and that's something I've still been stuck on since you and I had this conversation earlier. But when it comes to relationships and emotional intelligence, the first chapter of your book is your words shape your reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's also something that I noticed in my life. And I want to ask you this first question as we dive into this topic is, do your words shape your relationships?
Yes, I mean 100%. Um, I realize there's somebody somebody I've been working with, who I'm guessing I'm going to be throwing under the bus a bit here. I just won't use any details. Actually, there's probably I have a few different people right now. I'll go out with it. They are men who are clearly struggling with their spouses. And, if they are my client, I want them to feel like I am there for them and I am compassionate for them. But I've been giving them a lot of shit. One of them was definitely frustrated with his wife the other night, and I called her a bitch, which is really not going to get you very far when you're having a fight. And he knew that it wasn't the right move. But I mean, what we really had to work on was why is that even the word that came to his mind, right? How is he thinking about his partner, and how is he thinking about women, that when he's struggling with this particular person, that's what he comes out with. So even just that, it might be sort of a too simple example.
No,
I can give you a more complex one.
You can go ahead and give us a more complex one too, but that simple example right there is exactly what I'm talking about, and how you can combine the two things, the emotional intelligence and how your words affect the relationship, right? Because he's clearly that's the lens he's seeing that disagreement through.
Yeah, right, exactly. And seeing his relationship, so I'll kind of give you a broader one. So my obsession these days is with a phrase called holding the tension. I did not invent it, but I'm going to do my best to popularize it. So let's see, what's my elevator pitch? Holding the tension in communication is, let's say we're, I'm going to do it sort of in a dumb way. Let's say that this is like I think we're all of enough age that we remember sort of great taste, less filling. Just this, right?
Yeah.
So if you'll recall, the two sides are just yelling back and forth, great taste, less filling, right? And what's happening is there's clearly a tension between taste and fillingness. And instead of holding it, because if somebody just said, hey, you know what? Great taste and less filling, the other side then doesn't have any sort of comeback because their position has already been stated, right? So much there. If my words show that, I'm gonna hold my side, but I'm gonna show them that I understand theirs, the argument gets a lot, let's just say, more efficient, right? Because otherwise, if I just keep saying my part and they keep saying their part, all we're doing is looping back and forth, right? So if my words can contain their truth, the relationship does a lot better.
I'm thinking, let me use my words here. And we're talking about words. What about, so I know in relationships, we want to attack each other sometimes, and men and women both do the same thing. And we use these words to attack each other. Excuse me. Usually there's something else going on, right? But they want to get, I want to say, a rise or maybe end the conversation by using such word, because then it blows up. The other person has to walk away and be silent or need some time to reflect, all these things. When you're talking about using these words, or with men that you work with, I know when I've had relationships and I use those words, there's something greater deep down inside. How do you get them to see, or what they're feeling, out in a word that's their emotions, or a better way to conversate, instead of saying, instead of you're a bitch, you're acting like a bitch, and this is I feel why you're acting like a bitch, or you're doing this and this is why I feel, or you hurt me, or we could go all over the place. But how do you work those in there?
It's a good question. I mean, in general, I'm going to be counseling men that misogynist language is not going to improve their relationship. Right. So even just that alone is a big start, right? If we sort of kind of keep scaling down from there, right? Name calling in general isn't going to get you very far either. I mean, I think what you're pointing at is very real, right? That if somebody's on the attack, that generally means that they are feeling threatened in some way. People don't attack unless they feel like they need to, because they feel like they are being attacked in some way. And people are only going to have that defensive-ness if there's some sort of vulnerable feeling that they, there's almost this attitude of like, how dare you make me feel this way?
Hmm.
Right. And to be able to get to that of, I mean, I guess often what I'm trying to do with my clients, at least ones who have that kind of attitude, the sort of how dare you make me feel some kind of way attitude, is actually bring a little humility into the relationship of, you know what, like being with other people is going to make you feel a little less than. You are not just one person. You are now part of this whole, and in that way, it makes you half. And to work with that, to recognize that in order to have a healthy relationship, it involves a bit of giving up of personal power, right? Ideally, you have a partner where you feel empowered and they do too, but that means we are going to trade off in that way. Right. And so often, I think with name calling or just aggression, it's like, I need to be winning this right now.
Right. I need to
And
be
otherwise,
right. That
Yep.
feeling of the you. It's almost an attempt to end it
mhm, yeah.
by being victorious in the argument,
Yeah. And the real
right?
issue there is if you win the argument against your spouse, bad
Mhm.
news, you are still married to the loser of that argument who is not going to
I like
be
that.
that into it. Right? You still have to
That's
live
a
with
good
this
point.
person who you
That
just
is a very
beat,
good point.
I
you
love the
know?
way you just put that. Oh, and by the way, the person who just lost that argument has a ring on their finger, or even if they don't, like you're still sleeping in the same bed, or
Yeah.
Right.
hopefully,
Yeah, in the
um,
same house.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now you're eating
Yeah.
dinner with the loser of the argument, which
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
You really, yeah.
or she's eating dinner with you and you're the loser of the argument. Like no one wins there, is what
No,
you're trying to
no, yeah.
say.
Right. If you win, you've created resentment. If you win in a way that is, hostile, you're
Yeah.
creating a resentful relationship. I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
sometimes, me and my partner will have an argument, and at the end of it, one of us be like, huh, you know what? Okay, I think you're right on this one. But at least we've come there in a way where we're friends at the end of it.
Yeah.
She won or I won, but we're not like being dicks to each other.
I have a second part of this question that I was thinking of
Yeah.
too when I asked the first part of the question.
Mm,
When we say these words to ourselves during this,
mm,
how like cause you
mm,
could be in your head trying to still win, right? And you're saying
mm,
to yourself, she is such a bitch.
mhm,
To
mhm,
yourself, it's the same thing, right? I'm projecting
mhm.
that through my mind to this
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
but I'm not
Yeah.
saying it out loud.
Yes.
How does that work? How does that affect the I wouldn't say the relationship, but the
Mm,
thinking behind
yeah.
changing the language?
Yeah, I mean it's enormous. Because usually, especially if things are heated, the words that are coming to mind are going to be the next words that come out.
Mhm.
So that's that alone. And the words are key. I do think that there are kind of these framing concepts that, I mean, I think if we have those frames, that itself is still sort of vocab, right? I call
Mhm.
myself like a cognitive linguistic therapist, right? To me, it's sort of the ideas and words that we're playing with are kind of all we have to work with when we are then behaving in the world. Right. So this attitude of this person, here are the names I want to call them, it has to still be founded on, we are having a difficulty and it is their fault, right? Even just that alone
Yeah,
is
yeah.
gonna like, I'm not gonna be name calling unless I think they're the problem. And why are you like bothering me? I'm great. So I think just that is going to be where the name calling starts. So even
Yeah.
if I use less loaded language, but I'm still sort of throwing words at them, if I say, you're being very difficult right now, I mean, it's certainly less offensive, but I'm still not, there's no tension holding there, right? If they're being difficult, I might be participating in that in some way. Yeah.
And
Sorry, what do you want to say?
I was gonna say also, I just keep having these thoughts. This is a fascinating conversation, actually, thinking about words. What about when they don't have enough of a vocabulary to
Yeah.
talk about their emotions or how they're feeling or what they're trying to convey to their this other person's
Yeah.
spouse? We can use it all over the place, coworkers.
It was
Yeah.
interesting, Robbie, because I have a similar question written down right here. But so I want to, Matthew, go
Please.
ahead and answer that, and I think we could probably just piggyback off of it.
Yeah, it's a real problem if we don't have enough work. Are you familiar? So one of my favorite words is alexithymia. You know that one?
No,
Is that Alexa?
Oh man. What's up?
Alexa, the Amazon thing? Like, you ask her
Yeah,
everything.
Alexa, if there was a chat function, Alexithymia. Alexithymia. So if we
Okay.
parse it, A
Oh, okay,
meaning
got it.
like not, Lexa meaning word, and thymia meaning emotion, is when
oh,
somebody's
okay.
having a feeling and they just lack the vocabulary to be able to say what it is, right? So the most classic version of this, right? So men are very often alexithymic because we're not taught that much about emotions. So usually what they can identify is sort of like happy and angry, right? So if they are sad, if they're experiencing a loss, but they don't really understand, if they can't recognize loss, then or sadness, then they just get angry instead, right? Somebody who doesn't have
It reverts to the whatever emotion you know how to access
yeah,
easiest
100%. Yeah.
in
I mean,
in in that moment.
yeah. Well, and for what it's worth, also, right? If I'm, sadness and fear are both uncomfortable feelings. And so it's okay, this is making me uncomfortable. Well, anger also, anger is a feeling we get when we're comfortable as well. So it has a certain meaning to it. But then it's a real problem. Yeah, Steve, you had a similar question before I keep rambling?
Oh,
Keep rambling.
you can keep rambling all you want. This is
Okay,
it's fantastic. Like
cool, cool.
if you have a high horse you want to stand on, go ahead and find a
All
spot
right.
to stand on your high horse too, and
Bring-
like preach, man. Preach. It's
Just
I'll do it.
we're okay with it. And
Okay.
so, um, the thought that went through my mind was, how does a man go about increasing his emotional intelligence? So when it comes to that, and that's why I said this kind of piggybacks on what Robbie was talking about. You're talking about disagreement. You're talking about
Yeah.
access to emotion now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
I know kind of what I did to try and put language to that, and that wasn't through therapy, or it was through reading a certain book, and I swear by it. But
Mhm.
that being said, from
Yeah.
a professional opinion, you're dealing with a man who basically right now lives in happy, sad, and mad, and those are the three emotions that he
Yeah.
really knows how to
Mhm.
voice. So those are the
Right.
ones that you're accessing, regardless of what you're
Mhm.
missing in between.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you go about
Mhm.
giving someone the language
Mhm.
to access everything in between?
Sure. I got that one. So, I appreciate too. It's an easier question if it's how do I give this to them rather than like what would I recommend they do sort of outside of session.
Yeah.
So really, and I'll be clear too. There's no way what I'm about to say is original. I'm guessing it's been a while since I've read Nonviolent Communication. I believe that's Marshall Rosenberg. Fantastic book. Very sort of basic. I'm not saying it's perfect, but there's a lot there that I think is foundational. So I think I'm pulling from him, where he talks about sort of any emotion is a response to, or it's information and it's motivation in regards to a need, right? Any emotion is always telling us something about the state of our needs, or at least how we're interpreting the state of our needs. So I would really start there with a guy, because that can be really orienting, right? Your needs are met, so you are happy. Your needs are, so when they're not being met, it goes a few different ways. So they're not being met because someone's in the way. So that's going to be anger. They are being met, but they're being threatened. So that's fear. And they were being met, but the resource, right, the source of what was getting them met is lost, and that's going to be sadness. So really just, I mean, there's obviously more emotions than that. I will often like, if you Google like images, like emotion wheel, you can find these massive
wheels, yeah.
charts just filled with, and that's fun. Just I learned the phrase emotional granularity, which is such a good phrase of having the particular word that you're looking for, right? So
Yeah.
angry versus frustrated versus
Frustration.
annoyed,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually like teaching them about to identify, to understand that what they're always responding to is something about the state of their needs is
Mhm.
always a really important part. And then usually along with that, because let's recognize emotional intelligence, half of it is knowing what you're feeling, half of it is being aware that other people also have feelings.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this person, they're your enemy or you're angry at them, but also they're a human with needs. And to sort of own that having needs makes us vulnerable, right? For what it's worth, right? If I did
Yeah.
not
I think that's an
need,
excellent thing to talk about just
Yeah.
in that
right,
in and of itself, because
right,
trying to communicate a need to someone
yeah,
first, if that's not something you're used to doing, you already
oh
have
yeah,
a hard time finding the
yeah,
words
yeah,
to communicate that. And then
hmm,
next, would you like you spoke about fear, the
yeah,
fear of communicating the need and then having that rejected,
oh
or
yeah,
having it
yep,
it was already being met and you're being thankful for it, and then you've made them
mhm,
aware that they were meeting a need
mhm,
for you, and then they're like, oh shit, I don't want to do that anymore, so then
Yeah.
you have it removed from you.
yeah,
um
yeah,
like you've already described this in a very simple
mm,
way, but
mm,
I just put a little bit of context to it. But anyways,
yep.
take that one.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's right. To both have needs makes us vulnerable. To communicate about them is even more of a vulnerable feeling.
Huh.
So just there, and I think that's another big part. Again, I would say that this happens sort of across genders, but definitely my male clients are going to struggle with this, where they
Hmm.
just don't want to feel weak.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I get very I get sort of aggressive with clients. I create like a really like caring relationship. Anytime I'm giving my clients shit, it's because I know they feel safe with me and they know whatever I'm doing like comes out of that. I'm not mean, but I'm very direct. I'm like, hey, you are human. If you're not a divine being, then like you have fucking weaknesses. Like, can we just own it? Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you're refusing to be human, and like I don't like I lose patience for it, right? Any client, I guess, sort of across genders, perfectionism is what I'll see the most. And I'm like, yeah, guess what? Like, you will die. You're no matter how good you do, like you will keep being human. Can we just start from there? And sometimes that works. I mean, usually I have to sort of hammer it home because they keep refusing. They'll sort of know it cognitively, but they'll refuse it emotionally, and I just kind of won't quit.
You kind of have
I
to
wanted to.
go ahead.
Hmm.
No, just go.
uh, well, I was going to riff just on something else, just because it's been an interesting thing I've been noticing, and I think I have it in the book. There's a chapter about getting over a breakup by being disappointed.
Hmm.
Um, and so the way I'll often talk about it, right? Because what's really tricky with a breakup, let's say that this works. Look, I'm married very happily, but I also was divorced. I was divorced happily. I guess I was married unhappily at the time. Um, and in the sort of aftermath of it, it was very confusing because I felt sort of sad and angry at the same time.
Hmm.
Right. And I was sad about losing this person who is so close to me while also blaming them for that loss. And it
Yeah.
made sense, right? Like, boy, if she just was the person I'd been looking for, then I would still but even that's very confusing. And what's nice with disappointment is it's this moment of being like, oh, they are going to be an unsatisfying source of getting my needs met. I'm going to look elsewhere, right? Because anger is, how could she? This is bullshit. And sadness is, I lost the thing that mattered most. I'm ruined. And disappointment is like, boy, that was a dud. Well, if I'm gonna keep having needs, I guess I will keep looking for them. Right? She's a dead end of getting them met. I have to move on.
I had this light bulb moment the other day, and
Mm,
I was thinking about um, some shadow work stuff, and
mm,
I was listening to this person talk about shadow work, and they were talking about a lot of times when they talk about it, they go back to our inner child, and that's where it starts.
mm,
But this person was like, it can be in adulthood too. So don't think that everything goes back to.
Mhm.
Then I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit. When my ex-wife left me, she abandoned me. I have abandonment issues from my dad.
Mhm.
I was like, oh. Then I was like, what was I feeling when she abandoned me? I
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
sad.
Yeah.
I was angry because she took the love of my life, my daughter, out of my life. And then
Mhm.
I became the victim. Why could this person do this to
Mm.
me? I'm not worthy. I have
Mhm.
nothing to offer. The whole list, right?
Mhm.
And it was one of those light bulb moments. Like, I never even thought about this. I never even worked through it. I was still so mad and angry
Mhm.
and sad
Mhm.
about this thing that I never even put thought to it. I just moved on and made sure my daughter was taken care of. And I didn't even
Mhm.
think about taking care of myself. Fast
Mhm.
forward relationships after that. Anytime they wanted something from me, I was done. I can't
Mm.
handle it. No, you want this from me? I'm not willing to give this to you. Why? Because you might abandon me. I don't offer, I don't have anything to offer. Go away. And it was just like one of those crazy light bulb things is like,
If
we
you
put
you
stuff
don't
away, compartmentalize stuff. And I'm like, holy shit, this is a huge, I don't want to say trauma, but a huge event in my life that
Mhm.
I didn't even
Mhm.
realize. It was at the time, but it was
Mhm.
now I can put some words to it and how I feel, but I never thought about it. It's just kind of interesting when you were talking about, needs and
Yeah.
needs for ourselves.
Yeah.
if if
Yeah.
you
We
don't
have to be in touch with that, or we are screwed, and we're gonna not be very. We just can't be in a relationship if we're not owning that.
Yep.
yeah, if you don't give it away, if you don't
Mm.
give to the need,
Mm.
then
Mhm.
it can never be taken away again,
Mhm. Mhm.
Yep.
right?
Right.
You
Exactly.
don't
Yep.
you're not giving any attachment to the
Right.
relationship so it can be
Yep.
removed from you. So if you consistently say no, you just block yourself off from emotional
Right.
connection,
Right.
any
Well,
connection.
it's yeah.
Go ahead.
I work a lot with metaphors. And there's a whole section of the book that's just utterly focused on that. This piece isn't in there, but I think a lot about sort of spatial metaphors. Right? Any spatial metaphor is always a matter of sort of openings and closings, and are these closings sort of rigid or flexible? Right? And a fortress is the safest place you can be. You've got sort of rigid closings on every single side, which is great. You are safe. The problem is that I just described a prison. Like it works, right?
No one can
Like,
come in.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Good
Yep.
news. You are safe and very alone.
And
Yep.
very alone. That's a great description of that.
Yeah. Oh,
Robbie, have
and
you
we.
lived in one of those before?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like I have too.
yeah. That's really cool because uh, how many men out there are living in that fortress
Yeah.
because of whatever? I,
Yeah.
I I know a lot of females too, but how
Also,
many men
yeah,
are living in that fortress right now?
yeah.
And men that are listening and you're thinking about, hey, I'm living in this fortress. There's a way
Hmm.
out.
Right.
It's not going to be easy,
Well,
but
it's
there is a way out.
what we want to do is we want to turn at least one of those walls flexible, right? I do want a space that I can close and lock in, but I need
Yeah,
it to be a thing that somebody can also knock on and I can open it.
yeah, good point. Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm going to keep referencing again. I guess I'm excited about this book. I have a an extended parable in there called "The Welcoming and the Walled and Welcoming City," and it's this whole parable about being a person who, like, we have boundaries, and it's very important. Like, here's who I am, here's what I'm not, but things are going to keep coming in, and we can't shut everything out. We have to have kind of like a so in the parable, what I have is there's a welcoming committee, right? And the welcoming committee is saying, like, hey, you're a guest here. What kind of guest do you plan on being? Right? Like, if you came to criticize because you want to build this place up, like, cool. If your plan is to throw bombs, like, you're not welcome. Right? That we have to end up, right? Because the issue with the fortress is everyone's a danger if they're outside the fortress.
hmm,
And this
yeah.
becomes more of a very sort of careful and sensitive screening system, um, so that we can find who's safe. And maybe we have sort of outer layers. Maybe I invite somebody, I'm going to mix my metaphor here. I invite somebody onto the porch, but not into the house, or they get to be in the living room, but not the bedroom, etc.
different areas of welcoming, essentially different areas of
Yeah, and just
where,
different areas of what I'm gonna be vulnerable with.
yeah,
Mhm.
Right? We can't be utterly closed off. Being an open book is not a necessarily a great idea either.
Yeah.
yep,
I want to change this word need to want because
Okay.
I just thinking about what maybe children or uh, adults want with their spouses or with their friendships, coworkers, and it's like,
Mm,
I want my dad to love me, I want my
mm,
spouse to love me.
mm.
Those a lot of times, we want that as very a lot of vulnerability and courage. How do you know teach people how to be able to use those and it's kind of like you were talking about with the porch, right? I got to let someone on the porch before I can let them in the house, then into the
Mhm,
bedroom, because it's very
mhm.
careful depending on what the situation is. But um, how do you use those words and those emotions and the courage, the vulnerability to like
Mm.
want, express their want to someone else, just a human being?
I'm curious what the word change means to you. Why like go from need to want? What does that do
Because
for like what this means?
I don't, I know for myself, I don't say I need this. I want this. This is something
I
that
just remember
I
sort of with the communicating part of it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And I've been in other relationships and they say I want this, they don't say I need this. Um,
I
so
see.
I
Sure.
it's the same word, it's the same thing.
I
But
got you. It's this is
I
about
think
how do you
for
communicate.
yes, how you communicate it. Like I think a lot of people say I
Got it.
want. I know with my daughter, she says I want this from you. She doesn't say I
Right,
need this
right,
from you. Um,
right.
it may be just a play on words, but I think it might be a
I'm
little
with you.
important
I
too.
see what you were doing there. This is a matter of how do we then go to the person and say what we're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
Since that itself is the vulnerable moment. Yeah, thank you. Um, I don't know if this is like a weird angle, if this really answers your question. Um, Telling somebody, so there are certain words in the English language that have so many meanings that they become almost not useful.
Yes.
And two of the biggest ones. So and to be clear, just where I'm coming from with this, before I was a therapist, I was like a theology student. It's what my like first master's is in. I would say the two words that have too many meanings to be useful are God and love.
Mm,
Right. So if I tell
yeah.
somebody that I want them to love me,
There's a
the next thing
whole
I kind of have to do, I really have to define what I what I
yeah.
really mean there.
Mhm.
Um, and I think even there, right, what can be useful with that to break something down is also it just makes it an easier ask, right? So I might not say, "Hey, I need you to love me," but I might say, "Hey, like I had a hard day and I need to tell somebody about it." Right? Will you sort of hear me out? Right? Sort of if I kind of deconstruct what I think loving is into the variety of loving acts that I'm looking for, and then I'm
Mm,
able simply to ask about that. Um, it's more it's a smaller bite for the other person to take, and it's still yeah, I don't know. I mean, you'll notice sort of in my response, I didn't necessarily use the formula of I want X from you. Right. I guess I still had a certain like proclamation of need. Hey, there's this thing I need. Could you like help me
Mhm.
with it? And even there, I guess what I'm doing is bringing this consent element into it, right? Because I can say what I need, but I really have to find out are they available.
Yeah,
And
I
weirdly
think
enough, what's up?
go ahead.
Weirdly enough, the consent part I find um, power move is the wrong term, but it makes me think of it because if I just sort of show up with a need, I'm setting the other person up to either sort of be like steamrolled by it or feel like they have to fight to reject it. And so by bringing the consent element into it, I'm giving them this out, which often makes them feel more comfortable saying yes,
Mm,
right? Because there's no real yes if you can't say no.
yeah.
And then also if they do say no, they like because I've set them up for it, they know that them saying no is not a threat to the relationship. And I don't know, there's something about that. I don't know why, uh, to me, makes it feel less vulnerable. I don't know why that is. Um,
It, I
but it
mean,
it does. Yeah.
I think we avoid vulnerability often because,
Mm,
like, if it, generally speaking, and I'll speak from my own um,
mm,
personal experience,
mm,
it's almost a passive way to try and get the need met without really expressing it,
Mhm.
right?
mhm, mm,
Um, and for example, I'm trying to come up with one off the top of my head, but
mm,
um, you know, no, I've got nothing. So when it comes to like
uh,
that passive that passive need, my fear of rejection. So if
mm,
I
mhm,
drop something lightly
mm,
in hopes
mm,
that they'll hear me
mm,
or hear the need or be able to interpret the need
mm,
that I'm trying to express,
uh.
then I don't you kind of get screwed because generally speaking your need won't get met unless they can read your mind.
Are you thinking that the way I said it was dropping it lightly? Because I was not
No.
going for that with how I
No,
was.
no, no.
Oh, okay, okay.
I wasn't saying
That
that.
people
I'm
will
just
see this sort
like
of indirect way. Got it.
yeah, yeah, throwing
I'm with
another
you.
perspective at it. And then when you do,
Mm,
of the two options that
yeah.
when you were talking about, when you like get steamrolled
Mm,
by it, or
mm,
essentially the opposite, there's the middle ground in there where the other person or you might feel obligated
mm.
to meet it anyways because you don't want to upset the other person.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and I think that might
Yeah.
go in with the steamrolling a little bit because then
Mhm,
you have this nuance, and I think there's a lot of nuance when it comes to relationships because it all
mhm,
depends on where each other's level of vulnerability with each other and being
mhm,
comfortable with,
Mhm.
you know, if
yeah.
you can say that thing that's on your mind and it's
Mm,
not offensive to the other person, even though it might come out that way, right?
mm,
Like, and sometimes
mhm,
I'll do this because I don't have better language for it. I'll
mm,
preface it saying, I don't
mhm.
have any better words for this right now,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yep.
here's what it is that I'm thinking, or this is the need that I'm looking to have met, and it's gonna come out
Yeah.
more
Messy.
raw
Mm,
and messy
yep.
than I mean
Yep.
for it to. And a lot of the
Mhm,
times when I do that and I preface it, I still get the need out
mm,
there, but I also open it up to a
mm.
conversation. We also get to say,
Yeah.
oh, okay, like here's that need. Here's,
Mm,
and if you're in like a healthy relationship, you can get some of that
mhm,
parroted back. Okay, I hear the
mhm,
need. You've said
mhm,
it.
mhm,
Yeah, it's messy. I'm not offended by it.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
if that's a need that you want to have met, here's a way I
Yeah.
would prefer to hear it.
Yep.
So you can communicate it in a way that still comes
Yeah.
across as showing
Mm.
respect.
Yeah. I call it, let's agree on semantics,
Yeah.
Mm.
right?
That's what it is. There's a
That,
lot of that.
Yeah.
right. And it's, I, sort of the way as well that I'll talk about that is, if I go to somebody and I don't quite have the words, then I might say like, there's a thing that's on my mind, and I feel like all I have right now is the first draft of how I can say it. So like I'll say in the first draft, and like you push back so we can get there where I can say the thing that sort of feels right for both of us. Um, this is the next book. Give me another decade on this one, is just about communication relationships, and such a big part of what I'm trying to talk about in it is this navigation of language with one another. Right? We all have these sensitivities around kind of like what the connotation is for us, if that makes sense, right?
Mhm.
And so I have to learn which words this person is going to not work for them because of how it was used in a past life.
Um, I,
And
I, I,
I think we'll give each other grace with that.
I have one of those, and I'm still currently working my way through it. And it's I call it ask telling. You're gonna ask me a
Okay.
question like it's a request, but it's actually
Uh-huh.
saying this is what I want you to do,
Yeah.
right?
Oof.
And so,
Yep.
right, it's an ask tell. So if you say
Yep.
no, you're screwed
Uh-huh.
because it
Uh-huh.
wasn't a question, but it was a
Uh-huh.
question. So then this way, the other person who asks the question doesn't have to take responsibility because
Uh-huh.
it's only a request when you come
Yeah.
back and actually call it
Uh-huh.
out, right? But you have
Right.
no option
Yep.
to say no, right? So
If
I'm
you're
trapped in my
yeah.
response.
I have like a very superficial version of it where I think because it was not that intense one, I this was like an old girlfriend in college. We were in my dorm room and she said, "Hey, do you want to open the window?" Right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, "No, I wasn't interested." Like I'm like, "That's not really not what you mean." And it's such a dumb one. Like obviously I was
Yeah.
giving her shit like in a friendly way, but
Mhm.
it's the version I talk about in my chapter on tone in the book that doesn't exist yet of my father was driving around my grandmother, um, and she asked, "Hey, does this car have air conditioning?" Right. What she meant was turn it on. But it's
Yes.
like, and I think he said yes, just to sort of needle her. And she said, "Well, does it work?" It's like, just say the thing,
Right, and that's,
you know?
that's, just say the thing, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
don't
Yep.
make me guess your needs, and I think that's what it came
Uh-huh.
down to, right? Like,
Mm, mhm. Yeah.
what needs to happen is you need to have the
Yeah.
courage to express your needs, and I need to have the courage to express mine, and then we need to have the courage
Mhm.
that if it doesn't work out in the middle, that we're gonna have at least some respectful discourse between us to find the common ground. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
um, that's I brought that one up because I think
Mm.
it's a fairly common one, uh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and it's taken me a while
Mhm.
to remove past context from that because
Mm.
I
Mhm.
have past context to it that gets me lit up when it
Mm,
happens,
yeah.
and that is also
Yeah.
my responsibility to deal with.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
because I'm the one
Absolutely.
who has the past context, and somebody else might say the
Mhm.
exact same thing. And if I get all heated about it,
Yeah.
I can express that, but I
Mhm.
also need to own that it's something that I need to work
Mhm.
on.
Yeah.
This
Like,
is
Yeah. Absolutely.
uh I'm just listening, and like my question I tried to ask, I couldn't ask, right? But it was more about semantics. Like this is here
Mm.
we are. We just went through it. And I guess what I was trying to convey is like when someone comes up to you and you're like, your spouse comes up and I've had a horrible day. And you
Mm.
hear that, then you go,
Mm.
oh, you either say, well, let me hear about it or whatever, your
Mm.
response.
Mm.
Then
Mm.
it could be negative as like, well, you don't ever care what I have my days about. But what she
Mm.
was really asking is, I just need to be held.
Mm. Mhm.
Then if it goes the other way, we could, do the other way. But I guess that was the question I was trying to ask was semantics, and you guys already answered it for me. So thank you.
Mm.
Because it gets lost a lot of times because that's another thing where we don't know those
Mm.
words, and that's why I used want because a lot of times
Yeah.
is want, but need works. Um,
Yeah.
I don't. I may play you for what I actually need.
Mm.
Um,
I can see
so
that feeling. Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean,
like
I think a gift we can give one another is making the sort of open offer, right? Somebody says, "I had a bad day." I'll say, "I'm here for you. What do you need?" Right? And
Mhm.
now I've kind of given them that floor that should certainly both give them that permission and also takes out the guesswork from me. I don't need to guess what they're looking for. I say, "I'm here. What do you need?"
It's
well
Great.
kind
now
of
I
like
yeah now I've learned that
reciprocating
though.
language or something, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean now I've learned that though. In the
Hmm.
past, like I didn't know that. Like I didn't know how to sit.
Sure.
I didn't know. It was like, oh
Oh,
really?
for sure.
You know. But now I know that. But it's like I know a lot of men out there like they don't know how to answer that question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, they
I was one of them.
yes.
in a
I was one.
electrical It meant many fights.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Because
It
my
meant
mind would
it-
be like, oh, what the hell does she want now?
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't have time for this.
hmm
And I go right to anger or
I
frustration.
don't have time for the guessing game.
Yep.
I don't like. Here I go. I'm gonna get it wrong again.
Yep.
There's a lot of that comes up that essentially just leads to the feeling of disappointment. Like, okay, I'll put effort into it again.
Mhm.
Nope, clearly got it wrong. I tried, and I
Yeah.
think that's the part that ends up
Oh.
where
Resentment.
we start. Yeah, that's where you start losing, some respect, and you start gaining resentment. Because when you lose respect, you gain something else, and normally it's a negative emotion, resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another person I'm working with right now. There's another person who thankfully like takes a lot of sort of shit I give him, who had that exact thing, right? That I mean, for him, it was sort of that very classic one of his wife would tell him about something that happened at work, and he would just start trying to solve it. Right? That's very sort of classic.
'Cause what we do.
And then she'd be like, I'm not looking for solutions, like I want sympathy. And he was like, well, I'm not here for that. And that was it. was like, dude.
Yep.
He's like, I'm helping the way I want to help. I'm like, that's not fucking like,
Yep. That was me
you
too.
know. I kind of riff on that because there's a thing I
Please.
love sharing.
Go for it, dude. Please do.
So, and I'll cite my sources here. So, is it okay to reference other podcasts?
Yeah, go for it.
So there's a fantastic podcast I love called Philosophize This. And just a dude who I actually don't know his background, but he knows his stuff. So I have to assume he might be an academic. He doesn't bring that much in. And he has an episode on what's called the ethics of care. And his sort of philosopher for it is this crap. I almost want to say sociologist. I'm sorry that I don't have all my sources here. Woman's name is Joan Tronto. Toronto, as if you took Toronto and took the first O out. And she has these sort of 5 elements of the ethics of care, and they sort of stack on each other, right? So there's just noticing there's a problem, right? Because I can't care if I don't realize there's an issue, right? And then we have responsibility, and that doesn't mean it's my fault, but it's like, oh, I should do something. Right. So those are great. Those are about as fundamental as you can get of somebody who's caring is doing those things. Then there's competence, right? And this is often where people already sort of start slipping, because I can want to help and then help in a way that makes things worse. So like, what have I really done? I've cared, but I've cared very poorly. And then the part that I love the most is called responsiveness. And that's where the person you're trying to help tells you how you're doing. And this is the part where things really easily break down, because the person who wants to be the helper, if they're given negative feedback, is like, well, fuck you then. Right. And that's the point where they've sort of failed to understand how caring works. Right. You are as much a helper as the person you're trying to help sees you as. And if you're not getting that part down, then your care is sort of limited. The 5th dimension is less personal. It's sort of social. And that's just about, can we create a society that's doing some of this caring instead of it falling on individuals? So when I'm working with clients, I'm really focused on the first 4.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
If I'm gonna be someone's emotional support, I have to be there for it, have some skills. But a lot of it really comes down to the responsiveness. I actually don't need as many skills if I can take feedback well.
Yeah.
You know,
That's very interesting.
and there's a lot of emotional intelligence required to take feedback well.
Yeah. You said
Yeah.
You said society. Can you go a little more into that? Because that sounds pretty interesting. Like society's help, responsiveness.
So,
What does that mean?
so,
I kind of get the picture, but it
so I'll give you. So I have a good friend, also a therapist, who is blind, and she in some ways is the inspiration for kind of the rant I just went on. For a while, she had like sort of like a closed Facebook group that was called "I Was Just Trying to Help," and it's stories of people who like in public have kind of like treated her like a child because they're like, oh, the blind woman, like I'm gonna
Okay.
like grab her hand and drag her across the street, right? And then when she says like, hey, I don't need this, they get mad at her, right?
Mm.
So if I'll sort of riff on that, and this comes up a lot in sort of just like disability justice work, right? So let's say that there's this building and the only way to get in are stairs, right? So there's somebody with a wheelchair outside of it. So I could help by offering some way to help them maneuver those stairs. That's all well and good. The social form of caring would be if the building just fucking had ramps, right? A disability is just a reflection of match between environment and person, right? So if we have an environment that includes the people and understands their needs, that would be sort of social caring.
Got it. That makes total sense. Got it.
Yep.
So, but all of this, right, keeps coming back to awareness of our own needs and this conscientiousness towards others. And the challenge, again, this is another guy I'm dealing with who, did not have a great upbringing and was not really taught about how to have any of his emotions. And what's especially hard is, it's so hard. He's getting there. He's making fantastic progress. But this notion of being in relationship, being that I am there for myself and for this other person, and that's so confusing that it always feels like it's a zero-sum game of either you win or I win, right? Only one of our needs get to be met.
Oh yeah,
right.
And like you either create resentment that way or build it for yourself.
Yeah, it's a win-lose. It's not a win for the partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And he figured either he has to insist on himself or he has to sacrifice himself. And like,
it's very black and white.
Right. Here's what's annoying. And again, I'll reference my chapter. I point out that the words both selfish and selfless are really not enough for what we need. Right. Because selfish just sounds bad and selfless is supposed to sound good. But utter selflessness is just martyrdom. Like, the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Right.
I use the term kind of self-inhabiting. Like, I'm at home in myself. Like, I get to take care of me. If you're with me, like, you have to be a good guest. But also, I'm hosting. Like, I need to, right? A good host is taking care of his guests, but also keeping them from, like, wrecking the place. Right? Yeah, selfish and selfless is just an unhelpful binary.
That's an interesting concept.
Yes.
Right? Because you certainly need to be selfish to take care of yourself.
Yeah,
right?
Some of them.
You're sure there's nothing inherently wrong in taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
You're gonna eat well and you're gonna say no to other food. That is selfish. You're taking care of yourself. You're not being rude to the other person because you're saying no. You're just taking care of yourself, right? And then vice versa. If you just said yes to everything, been there, done that.
Yep.
You have nothing left. It is essentially the opposite, the absolute opposite of living in that fortress.
Yeah.
There are no walls, right? It's you end up being public property.
So if you have a space with absolutely no boundaries, if it's good, we might call it like an ocean because we get to swim around and enjoy everything. If it's bad, we just call it an abyss. Right? If I have absolutely no boundaries, then I'm just falling. Right? Then you're falling endlessly. There's nothing to holding you in.
When you said the ocean, this is where my head went because it's funny. When you said the ocean, I was like, okay, yeah, no boundaries, nothing. You're swimming in the ocean, and I'm like, yeah, and then whoever's just swimming around in there is pissing and shitting in it too.
Sure. Yeah. No, we need containers.
Yes, for the piss and the shit.
Right. And again, like if our container is a fortress, though, then we will be quite low. And actually, then I was gonna play with the metaphor further, but I don't know how far I can go with.
Then you're swimming in your own piss and your shit.
Yeah, that's
where you're going with it. That's
where I
was going to finish it because that's what I thought I heard.
Yep. So there's I think I put this in there too. So there's a sort of within the Jewish tradition, there's a rabbi who's like known for his like really good sayings, about 2,000 years ago, maybe a little less, Hillel. And he has sort of a famous thing. He's sort of three parts, and people have usually heard of some of it. People usually know the "if not now, when" part. I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase, but that's him. He has these three questions, and it's, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? And that's really kind of what you were just talking about. Like, I need to be taking care of me. Who else will if I don't?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second half of it, though, is if I'm only for myself, then what am I?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that to me is we have to master this selfish, selfless binary and not think that one of them is the wrong one. But there's that tension holding again. Right. I need to be for self and for other to be fully human.
Right.
Yeah. That's a deep one.
Yeah, it is. I like that. I like that.
I make a living.
That one a lot.
Yeah. No, I like this because it's I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Like, I think of, I just use boundaries. This is my boundary, but it's being selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I don't have that boundary, I'm dumping my cup out all over the ground and no one's filling it. So same difference. But I like your term better because it makes it one feeds the other. It's a habitat. Without either of them, you're not going to prosper. You're going to die. I don't mean that. You know what I mean? It's just that's the way. I think that's really cool the way you worded that. I'm gonna keep that. I got to keep that one.
Sure.
You're gonna create it. You're gonna turn it into a reel after is what you're gonna do. If you're not, I'm gonna. Anyway,
cool.
Let's finish this episode off with. We talked about gaining emotional intelligence. If you were to like turn that word into something that's easier to digest, that like where men could say this is actually something that they need. Like if you were to come up to me back in the day and say like you just need a little bit more emotional intelligence, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. You telling me I'm dumb?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You saying I'm dumb? And like emotionally, yeah, you're gonna have to work on some things, right? Because I did not have the words for the things that I have the words for now. I've made it a priority to learn them. But if you were to like simplify that term, I think that's the question I'm trying to hand over to you.
I don't know if this will cover all of it, but here's kind of where my head went. So you won't see this one coming. So in the Marvin Gaye song "Sexual Healing," he has a line in which he says, "We're all sensitive people." And I think there's something even about Marvin Gaye saying it where it's like, oh, okay, like we're ready to own it. And like to me, that's so much of it is, hey, we're all sensitive people. We have to work with that. We can't deny it. We can't deny it in ourselves. We can't deny it in others. That doesn't mean that all we become is like a bundle of raw nerves, right? Some of that means we have to protect ourselves. But yeah, we're all sensitive people. Let's learn how to do that well. I don't know. How's that?
No, it's actually pretty well said. We are. And the emotional intelligence part is like recognizing what that sensitivity is. Really
honoring yourselves and in others.
So resources. Someone is listening to this podcast right now thinking, okay, clearly my relationship isn't very good with my spouse, partner, friends, whatever. I feel lonely. Even in that lonely feeling, learning how to express myself is going to be helpful to myself. It's going to benefit me and my outside world, both. It's a win-win when you learn that language. Resources for other men to figure that one out. Besides the book.
So besides my own,
I you're actually plug your book if go
Well,
for it.
I'll start there, but there's other books. There's other. Yeah. So, Seeing the Forest and the Trees, mapping your inner world for greater clarity and satisfaction in life.
Mhm.
It's wordy. The original title was just going to be "You Don't Get to Be Simple," and my editor said that was far too hot. But my editor said if people don't know you, they're going to find it to be a real turn. Like people who know me love that title, and everyone
Yeah, I was
else
gonna
is
say
like,
that's a great
just
title.
not cool."
I love that
Yeah,
title.
thank you. Right. But it's hostile. So certainly, I think there's a lot to be shared within my book. I do think, again, as like a good primer, I think Marshall Rosenberg's Nonviolent Communication is great. There's another book I love a lot by a gentleman. His name is Buster Benson. It's called Why Are We Yelling? And what's sort of neat about it is when I picked it up, this was when I was first kind of preparing to do couples work. And I saw the title, I'm like, this is amazing. This is clearly a good book for couples. And about 2/3 of the way through reading it, I found out that's not what it was. He wrote it after the 2016 election, when he realized that he and the people around him were unable to have like pleasant, productive disagreements. But what's
We
so
need that
nice
book in society right now.
it's a lovely book. I need to like tell this guy like that I'm out here plugging his book so much. But like the first chapter or so, he just names it. He says, if we are getting, if our conversations are turning heated, that's because it's hitting somewhere in us. And we need to like know what we need to like realize that and identify it and sort of own it, because otherwise we're just acting it out. So to me, just like the first couple chapters of Why Are We Yelling are fantastic. I'm trying to think of non-book resources. I'm pretty bookish.
No, and I think general book resources are probably the way to go if you're looking at just trying to learn some of this yourself. I know one of our previous guests, Sean Rawlinson, he's also a therapist who talks about emotional intelligence and has a workbook for it, and deals with men and clients. That's a shameless plug for him. But needless to say, that would be like a non-bookish type thing. I think he's been on a couple podcasts, and it's one of the things that he's big on is emotional intelligence. That being said, Robbie, what book helped you?
God, I had it in my head earlier. It's, Brene Brown. You have to help me out, Steve, because
Atlas of the Heart.
Atlas of the Heart. I was thinking about that book way earlier, but yeah, Atlas of the Heart.
Yeah, I was thinking about that book too. So this
life
was
changer for me.
a book. Yeah, it was a life changer for me too. She writes down. She really does an excellent job of going through 87 different emotions and explaining.
Oh shit! I've heard of her. I haven't heard of this book. Holy crap!
Atlas of the Heart. Yeah, it's super simple. It's an easy read. This is how I found the language for a lot of how I feel. She expresses it well. She brings some real life into it as well. But what I've done with it essentially is when you go through the book and read the emotion, a lot of the times I have found an event in my life where I felt that emotion. I never had words for it, but I would sit down and I'd be like, okay, where did I feel this? She has like an example here, and then if I can personalize that emotion with something, then when I'm walking through the world, I can access it again because I've turned it into something that I've experienced, and I've done that with all 87 of them, and it has helped me find my language for how I feel, and it's given me a boatload of confidence as well, and like how I can. I mean, it's taken a lot of work. I mean, and a lot of practice. You don't just get it right away, but that's the book that is. And I'll hand that book to anyone because it has changed my life.
Awesome. That's
And
very neat. Thank you. I wrote it down.
yeah, something Steve and I've talked about quite often too is a lot of times we thought it was this emotion and we didn't know the right name for that emotion. So we said, I'm just going to use an easy one like, jealousy and envy.
Hmm.
I would use jealousy,
Mhm,
but I was envious of this person. I wasn't jealous of them, but I
mhm,
used that wrong my whole
mhm.
life until I read that book. And I'm
Yep.
like, oh, and it's like some of those emotions there, you're just like, I've been using this wrong. Then once you feel out you've been using
Mhm.
it, find out you've been using it wrong, you're like, oh, this is what it means. Then for me, it makes a lot more sense of how I feel and what I felt during
Yeah.
that event or any of that time.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
absolutely.
There's a
Go ahead.
hmm,
Go ahead.
so in divinity school, I had a Buddhism professor who taught me the deep wisdom of the song "If You're Happy and You Know It." Right, that if you have an inner state and you are able to like know it, you then have the capacity to take action on it. Right, you
Clap your
can only
hands,
clap your hands if you're happy and you know
and
it.
you know it.
Yep.
I love that. I love that. That's a perfect way to just finish this podcast. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Matthew, for taking the
Yeah.
time. I know it's late over there where you are, and it's getting close to bedtime, but I really appreciate you hanging on and
Yeah.
showing up and sharing your stories, your knowledge, everything that you brought to the podcast today. I really appreciate you being here, and thank you so much, man. It was great having you
Cool.
on,
Thank you.
and I would love to have you on again sometime in the future because this was just
Cool.
really fun.
Awesome. Yeah, love it. You all are great. It's a cool thing you're doing for people out there. So I appreciate it. I'd be happy to be part of it.
Really cool. All right. Have a good night.